For a countless amount of years, people have been doing Arjuna dirty. But today is a new day. We're finally given the credit that this man deserves. Starting off strong, you have the America chapter, where he straight up shot off Robin Hood's left arm and Geronimo had to come save him. Dude said you might as well just stand still and accept your fate. In his interlude, he shows you how the archer class really is supposed to work, saying that his powers are the best of its kind, and then casually leveling an entire forest right in front of us. In the American chapter, when Geronimo tried to pull out his Phantasm, he admitted that Arjuna just one-shotted it with ease. In FGO, he gives us a look at his endurance, staying in a steam bath for 12 hours straight at 248 degrees Fahrenheit and still had energy left over. Even Billy the Kid was surprised when he was repelling several of his bullets. The nerve that you thought that these were gonna hit me. When Robin Hood tried to escape, which we know is him literally going invisible, Arjuna still caught up to him. He then tells him your bow could use some work. Let me give you some lessons. He can fire a multi-burst shot covering everything in front of him at once. You have him manipulating his powers to create a massive trail of flames. In his battle with Karna, Rama tells us that they're neck and neck in terms of power, Karna just barely having an edge on him. He's also a top tier servant. He tells us that he can deduce the quality of someone's skill just by looking at them. We saw him use this on Odysseus to gauge that he's a tactician instead of a warrior. You have his arrow blitz where he hits his opponent from several directions at the same time. He can reinforce his arrows to leave flame explosions behind. In the American chapter, Billy the Kid and Geronimo tried to jump him and he beat them both at the same time. He has a lock-on effect that allows him to hit you with multiple arrows at once. In Fate Extella, he was able to sneak up on a number of spirits without even being detected. This includes Nero, Charlemagne, and Nameless. He can manipulate his bow for close range combat and turn his shots into energy waves. He is one of the only servants in the series that knows how to fly. When he slightly charges his release, he can deliver a hailstorm of these arrows. If he decides to put in more magical energy, he can expand his coverage and leave behind a pool of flames. In FGO, he mentions how one shot from his Phantasm could destroy an entire labyrinth. Just him charging the Phantasm was enough to melt all the ice in the room. He can use his orbs to manipulate his arrow patterns, allowing them to ricochet on his enemies. He has access to a level of telekinesis, having his weapon float to the side. In the manga, letting off his Phantasm one time left Nero's entire reality marble in ruins. You have his divine construct, Pashupata, which is a Phantasm that was bestowed to him by the primordial Shiva. By sacrificing himself, he was able to take out the multi-demon god pillar clan Calatin. Keep in mind that this is 28 pillars at one time. Just one pillar alone would be enough to stop a servant. Even multiple servants that we had couldn't pull off what he did on his own. In Fate Extella, we saw him cancel out Karna's strongest Phantasm, Vasavi Shakti, and created a black hole while doing it. And then you have his form, God Arjuna, where he takes in nearly every deity from the Hindu pantheon. In Lost Belt 4, he beat Mash, Rama, Ganesha, and Lakshmi at the same time without even trying, two of them being deities themselves. Pepe tells us that he stole his servant from him, Ashwatthama, just by using his authority alone. You have Naja mention that he could completely erase their conscience if he truly wanted to. With the spell from Doman, he summoned multiple servants including Naja, Asclepius, and William Tell, then fused their grasp with divine spirits. We know that he can send out his beast familiar to attack at will. He can concentrate his mana and create energy disc around his body. Through his interactions with William Tell, we know that he can erase memories. We know that he was able to place Krishna's curse on Ashwatthama, which embodies 3 millenniums of pain and suffering. His authority is unmatched. When Ashwatthama tried to betray him, Arjuna not only killed him, but revived him a countless amount of times and kept doing it over and over again. His magical energy is nearly infinite, allowing Ashwatthama to keep regenerating even when he's harmed. With the help of the fantasy tree, he claims that he has even more power than absorbing the Hindu pantheon. Holmes tells us that he's a divine conceptual being and effectively one of the highest levels of being a god there is. When Rama tried to use his Phantasm Brahmastra, one of the best phantasms out there, Arjuna literally knocked it to the side. Even Sherlock said that this didn't even so much as scratch him. Pepe tells us that neither Karna or Rama's phantasm could stand a chance to Arjuna while he's in this state. You had William Tell try to use his phantasm against Arjuna and it did absolutely nothing. Even when Karna was being backed by Shiva, he still couldn't harm Arjuna when he was in his regular form. From Karna, we know that Arjuna's servants are unaffected by certain things of the Lost Belt. Based on the interactions with Asclepius, it's implied that he has telepathy as well. We know that he can create guardian beasts that can come to his defense. These have been shown casually destroying stone structures. He can open rifts from above and below that shoots colossal laser beams. He can manipulate his orbs to create fire waves. He has access to his own version of Vimana, the same Indian aircraft that we saw from Gil in Fate Zero. He can use his levitating armaments to deal powerful blasts as a bow. He can use his orbs as a method to fire energy grids at his targets. He had the authority to allow people into his pocket dimension. His ability to process has become so fast that even when he blinks, he has dreams. Then you have his Pralaya phantasm, which is the embodiment of catastrophe itself, bringing an end to entire worlds. Thanks to the fantasy tree, he had the reserves to pull this off. Using this, he was able to obliterate the Lost Belt and everything in it a countless amount of times. This reset even allowed him to bring the Lost Belt back once it's been destroyed. You had the Shadow Border beginning to malfunction just from trying to calculate the power behind this attack. The only way that you could get out of this is by leaving the Lost Belt entirely, and at that point you'd have to be hopping dimensions. Even then, our only saving grace is that Karna came in and gave us an extra 5 seconds to make it out, and he still perished. Its reach can span the entire Lost Belt, and if it made it to the outside world, then this would have been the planet, considering that he somehow managed to get around the defense system. The only drawback is that it takes a long time to power, considering that it's a ridiculous amount of energy. Do not let these FGO memes trick you into thinking Arjuna isn't really like that. He is one of the only spirits in the entire moon cell that got picked as the top 7. He is the son of the lightning god Indra, putting him leagues ahead of other servants from the get-go, and he's one of the oldest and most skilled warriors in mythology in general. If anything, your favorite is probably taking a page out of his book. If we're looking at his regular form, we gotta go with the A rank. But if we're looking at God Juna, you know he has to get the EX. God Juna, without a shadow of a doubt, is one of the strongest spirits in Fate. There's no discussion, there's no debate, you will get flatline. Now stop playing with this man and give him some better roles.